there's competing assessments of why the union lost in such a big way in Bessemer.
So, and this is all based on conversations, some no, I wouldn't share off the record conversations, but some just private conversations with people who are involved in union organizing and were there and otherwise. So it's not my personal, it's just like sort of the best analysis I heard.
Right.
But I think, number one, all good organizers know you start with low hanging fruit. It builds morality. It builds the model morale. Exactly. Thank you. This is what I'm talking about. I'm fried. My brain. I didn't eat for 3 days. Like, we'll see how the show goes today. Builds morale. And so I think there was a question, maybe not as public, but a conversation about why Bessemer first, a place where there isn't there is a legacy of organizing, but it's nowhere near, it's a right to work state. The challenges are just going to be much, much more difficult. And there are plenty of Amazon facilities where people are organizing right now all over the country where it might have been a little bit easier. And I think with RWDSU, which is the president's based in New York, Stuart Applebaum, I think there was a natural kind of look to maybe somewhere like Staten Island, where even though Staten Island is Republican, like everybody in Staten Island is a member of a union, even the Republican Senate members, or the Democrats that caucus with Republicans, I should say, they weren't challenged in the IDC because they were so close to unions. So I think the first question is, could there have been a fight that was more winnable? And then that could have been broadened out to other places around the country. I think the second question is just, there were some reports that came out like the last couple of days about how many people signed the union card, and it was not very high. And that was, I think there was a lot of, go ahead.
Yeah, just to explain to people what you're talking about with this so that people understand. You have a unit at your workplace, and how that's defined, it may be basically a function of either your titles or your roles at work, right? Like where in this department I'm making this up because I don't know what it would break down at Amazon, but where we grab stuff off the shelves as opposed to being the drivers, let's say. And in this unit, when they started with the cards, first off, they didn't get an incredibly high percentage. I think we only got like 35% to begin with. And then the size of the unit expanded, in part because Amazon started hiring new people in there. So what started off at something like 1,500 or 3,000 became a 6,000 person unit. So the percentage of people who had filed cards was even smaller, which made it that much more challenging to win a vote.
And the question is, if they knew that, why have the vote then? Right. And I think a lot of the other labor leaders that came down, this is secondhand conversation here, were a little surprised on the day of to learn how many union cards were actually signed, because if you can't even get to half before the vote, you're definitely not winning. It was like incredibly clear. There was no way. And so why even half the vote? And I think there's a couple of strategic questions about why vote, why Bessemer, why not somewhere else first? And I'm sure there's a lot of other, questions about, because listen, everybody came in solidarity. There was, how often do you see labor leaders from other unions
the President of the United States gave probably the most full-throated support for a union drive that we've seen in the history of the United States. I mean, it's worth what it's worth, but that is the reality of it. I mean, so, if, I think it's something we're going to revisit. Same time, I mean, the irony is today we had the tech people at New York Times declare that they had trying to unionize, and the Brookings Institute trying to unionize.
I love this so much. Wait, but who in Brookings Institute is unionizing? And can we take it to the Heritage Foundation? I'm so curious.
Yeah, that would be awesome.